During the 2016 presidential election, candidates have spoken on many social and political issues in our country. However, they have not made one of the more controversial issues a priority: racial profiling. All ages and races can experience this, usually caused by white supremacy, the belief that white people are superior to those of all other races, especially the black race, and should therefore dominate society. Trayvon Martin was born in Florida February 5, 1995. He had no criminal record, nor did he do anything to cause him to be shot at the age of 17. On February 26, 2012, Trayvon was shot and killed in Stanford, Florida by George Zimmerman. Zimmerman explained that Martin looked suspicious because he was wearing a black hoodie with the hood on. Zimmerman's arrest sparked a national debate over racial profiling and the role of armed neighborhood watchmen in law enforcement. Biography.com explains that the innocent black teen was on his third school suspension when he was shot, although this information had no relation to his death. Media tries to justify it in any way to make the defendant seem somewhat innocent. An officer arrived at the scene at 7:17 p.m. He found Martin dead and Zimmerman on the ground, bleeding from multiple wounds to the head and face. On April 11, 2012, Zimmerman was charged with second-degree murder. The trial began on June 24, 2013. People were very nervous of the final decision of jurisdiction. On July 13, 2013, the jury acquitted Zimmerman of murder.
What I think of when I hear the word race, I feel that there's another word that needs to come with it, and it's racism. In order to really evaluate and change structural racism, we have to talk about race and how it manifests itself in various different systems.
When I think of race, of course, I think about differences, I think about diversity, I think about different backgrounds, different experiences.
I am acutely aware in our society that discrimination still exists, and I think there are many people today who think we're in a post-racial world where it doesn't exist and that the law does treat people equally, and I just don't think that's the reality.
People assume that I'm white even though I'm Hispanic, and they kind of have this preconceived notion of my tendencies, I guess, or my interests. They say, oh, you like rock, so obviously because you're white.
So I was at 7-Eleven with my friends, and there was this white cop, and he was kind of looking at us weird just because we were having fun, just being ourselves, and looked like he didn't like us just because of, I don't know, of something, maybe our skin color.
My dad's side of the family, this is actually family, they're black, and they don't talk to me or my mother, only my father because he's black. I moved here from Oregon in 7th grade, and I talked a certain way. I talked white to a lot of people in my school, and moving to Virginia was such a huge change. Everybody thought I was just white just because of how I dressed and how I acted around people, and I hung out with white people.
Petitioner Abigail Fisher, a white Texan, was denied admission to the University of Texas at Austin for the fall 2008 entering class. Fisher sued the university, arguing that the denial violated her 14th Amendment right to equal protection because she was denied admission to the public university in favor of minority applicants with lesser credentials. But Fisher did not meet the school's average standards. She held a 3.59 GPA, while the school's average standard was 3.7.
Justice Scalia said this about African Americans, and I quote, "There are those who contend that it does not benefit African Americans to get them into the University of Texas, where they do not do well, as opposed to having them go to a less advanced school, a slower track school, where they do well." Close quote.
You don't know anything about someone other than the color of their skin or their race, and it's just you have these preconceived notions of what like who they are and how they act, and it's crazy the fact that someone can just easily just tell your life story without knowing who you are.
Our next president should be able to think of a way not to exactly make the racist people just like everyone, because that's just not going to happen, but find out a way where police are not allowed to kill black people just because they're black, like having cameras on their chests or anything on their cars, anything like that, so they know what happens during those times when there's a shooting or anything like that.
We can make steps together to ensure that everybody, gets along. At least try to get along. I don't think there's actually like a rule book or like a steps so we can fix it. But I think if we all put in the effort, then maybe one day it'll be fixed.
There's a word that I learned when I was young. It's called paradigm. And the best way for me to describe paradigm is looking at other people or trying to understand other people through their glasses, through their lenses.
What we're doing right now is just talking to the people who are being brutalized and who are receiving the most pain. We know, we understand the pain because we deal with it every single day.
So far, the candidates have acknowledged that racial profiling is an issue, but they have not discussed how they're going to resolve this problem. We matter. Candidates, how will you help Americans unite?